My beloved soul, listen carefully. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you, and hear this, my beloved soul, this is not poetry, this is prophecy, this is not imagination, this is divine revelation, because before you ever understood affection, before you ever tasted loyalty, before you ever felt the trembling of sacred connection, heaven had already written your name beside mine in the quiet chambers of destiny. And today you were led here on purpose to hear what your spirit has been longing to confirm. Type, "I receive this," in the comments as a seal upon this word, like this video as an act of agreement with heaven, subscribe to this channel because God is building something steady in your life, click the bell so you do not miss what He is about to unfold, and send a super thanks as a prophetic act of faith, not to a person, but as a declaration that you believe divine love is not an accident but an assignment. Listen carefully, my beloved soul, if I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you, and this is not a coincidence, you did not stumble into this message, heaven is watching, and God has not forgotten you. There was a time when love felt confusing to you, when it felt fragile, conditional, temporary, when it felt like something that could disappear overnight, and in those seasons of waiting, in those nights of silent tears, you questioned whether real love even existed, but the Lord whispered in the unseen, "Be still, and know that I am God," as written in Psalm 46 verse 10, because He was preparing you, shaping you, healing you before allowing you to encounter a love that would reflect His heart. My beloved soul, do not skip this moment, because what you are hearing is not random inspiration, it is confirmation. Before you met the one God sent, you knew attraction, you knew attachment, you knew desire, but you did not yet know divine love, because divine love carries peace, it carries safety, it carries alignment, it carries the unmistakable fingerprint of heaven. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you, and when He sent you, He did not just send a person, He sent revelation, He sent restoration, He sent healing wrapped in human form. You wondered why the waiting was so long, why the silence stretched for years, why doors closed without explanation, but Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 declares that He makes everything beautiful in its time, and your story was never delayed, it was being designed. Stay with me till the end, something powerful is waiting for you, because this word is building layer upon layer, like a temple rising stone by stone. When God sends love, it does not rush recklessly, it arrives at the appointed hour, and when it arrives, it awakens something holy within you, something you did not know was still alive. My beloved soul, you were led here on purpose, because somewhere deep inside, you have been asking, "Lord, is this real? Is this you? Is this the love you promised?" And heaven answers gently, "Yes, this is not a coincidence." If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you during a season when I had almost given up, when my prayers were quiet and my expectations were lower than before, and that is how God often moves, suddenly, softly, strategically. He allows the wilderness to refine you before He introduces the promise, because love that comes from Him is not built on desperation, it is built on preparation. Hear this, my beloved soul, before divine love entered your life, God was working behind the scenes, removing what could not stay, teaching you boundaries, teaching you discernment, teaching you that love is not loud chaos but steady covenant. 1 Corinthians 13 says that love is patient and kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it keeps no record of wrongs, and when you encountered the one God sent, you felt that Scripture come alive, not as theory but as reality. Do not leave yet, heaven has more to reveal, because what you are about to understand will settle your restless thoughts. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you at a moment when my heart was healed enough to recognize what was sacred, and you must understand this, divine love often arrives after surrender, after you finally say, "Lord, your will be done," and release control. My beloved soul, heaven is watching how you respond to this season, not with fear, not with anxiety, but with faith. You feared before that love would abandon you, that promises would fade, that connection would weaken, but when God sends someone, He does not send confusion as confirmation, He sends peace. Philippians 4 verse 7 speaks of the peace of God that surpasses understanding, guarding your heart and mind, and that is how you know this love is different. It guards rather than wounds, it strengthens rather than drains. If you remain till the end, the final word will change everything, because the climax of this message is not emotional excitement, it is divine assurance. My beloved soul, if I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as an answer to prayers I prayed in secret, tears I wiped away in darkness, and questions I never voiced aloud. God has not forgotten you, even when you thought He had overlooked your longing. Every delay had purpose, every goodbye had protection, every closed door was a redirection towards something aligned. Listen carefully, because this is intimate. When God sends someone into your life, it is not to complete you as if you were broken beyond repair, it is to complement the wholeness He already cultivated within you. You were never half a person waiting for rescue, you were a whole soul waiting for divine partnership. My beloved soul, stay attentive, because heaven is weaving clarity into your spirit right now. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you not to distract me from purpose, but to walk with me in purpose. Amos 3 verse 3 asks, can two walk together unless they agree? And divine love carries agreement, not forced compromise of destiny, but harmony of calling. You felt it, that sense of recognition, that calm certainty, that quiet knowing, and you questioned whether it was too good to be true, but hear this, what God authors does not need to pretend. Do not scroll past this sacred encounter, because your heart needs this confirmation. In the waiting seasons, you learned endurance, you learned how to trust without evidence, how to hope without guarantees, and Isaiah 40 verse 31 promises that those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings like eagles, they shall run and not grow weary. The love God sends does not exhaust your soul, it renews it. My beloved soul, if I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you after teaching me that love is not possession, it is stewardship, it is not control, it is covering, it is not fear of loss, it is confidence in covenant. Heaven is watching how you receive this word, because reception determines manifestation. When you embrace divine love with gratitude instead of suspicion, you align yourself with peace. Stay with me, precious one, because this revelation is deepening. There were nights when you cried and asked God why it had not happened yet, why others seemed to receive what you prayed for, and Psalm 34 verse 18 says the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, He saves those who are crushed in spirit, and in those nights, though you felt alone, heaven was closer than your breath. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as living proof that He was listening all along. This is not exaggeration, this is fulfillment unfolding in real time. My beloved soul, do not let past disappointment sabotage present blessings, because this love did not come from the same source as your previous pain. God has not forgotten you, and this connection is not random chemistry, it is divine alignment. You were led here on purpose to hear that the love you are experiencing is not fragile glass, it is forged steel, refined through fire before it reached you. Listen carefully, because the enemy often whispers doubt where God has planted destiny, but doubt loses power when truth is declared. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you during a season when I finally understood that love begins with Him, not with human validation. 1 John 4 verse 19 says we love because He first loved us, and divine love flows from that source, not from insecurity, not from fear. My beloved soul, remain until the final breath of this message, because something sacred is sealing over your life. The love God sends does not compete with your calling, it confirms it, it does not silence your voice, it strengthens it. It does not shrink your faith, it expands it. Heaven is watching this union, not with suspicion, but with approval, because what He ordains, He sustains. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as a reminder that His promises are yes and amen, that His timing is flawless, that His silence was never absence. You feared that love would never feel safe, but divine love feels like rest, like exhaling after years of holding your breath. Hear this, my beloved soul, what you prayed for is not far, it is near, it is forming, it is stabilizing. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 declares that He knows the plans He has for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, and this love is woven into that future. Do not doubt what heaven has confirmed. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as part of my becoming, as part of my testimony, as part of my answered prayer. And I declare over you now, the waiting season is closing, the confusion is dissolving, the fear is breaking, and peace is settling like morning light after a long night. My beloved soul, what you asked God for in whispers is about to stand before you in reality. Heaven is watching. God has not forgotten you, this is not a coincidence, you were led here on purpose. Receive this truth deeply, the love that is aligned with God will not pass you by. It will find you, confirm you, and remain. And as this message comes to its sacred close, I declare that what you prayed for is very near, closer than you think, unfolding even now. Walk in peace, stand in faith, and rest in divine expectation, because if you know the real meaning of love, it is because God Himself has sent it to you, and what God sends, no force on earth can remove. My beloved soul, as this sacred river of revelation continues to flow, understand this deeply. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you not only into my life, but into my destiny, into my healing, into the chambers of my prayers that no one else had access to, and you must hear this carefully, because what heaven joins is never casual, it is intentional, it is measured, it is ordained before time ever began. When God sent you, He was not reacting to loneliness, He was responding to alignment, He was answering growth, He was rewarding surrender. There were pieces of you that had to mature before you could carry this kind of love. There were wounds that had to close before you could recognize something holy instead of running from it. My beloved soul, do not rush past this part, because it explains why the waiting was necessary. You thought the delay meant denial, but in truth it meant development. Romans 8 verse 28 declares that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose, and even the heartbreaks, even the misunderstandings, even the silent seasons were working behind the veil to prepare you for this divine encounter. Stay with me in this sacred unfolding, because heaven is still speaking. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you at a time when I had finally stopped idolizing the idea of love and started trusting the author of love. Before, you may have chased feelings, intensity, sparks that burned quickly and faded even faster, but divine love does not flicker like a fragile flame, it burns steady like an eternal lamp tended by the hand of God Himself. Hear this, my beloved soul, when something is sent by heaven, it carries heaven's peace, and that peace is your confirmation. You do not have to strive to keep what God ordained, you do not have to manipulate to maintain what He designed, because what He builds is sustained by His grace. Do not leave yet, because what is about to be revealed will anchor your spirit. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you to show me that love is not merely emotion, it is decision, it is covenant, it is daily choosing even when feelings fluctuate. Love from God reflects His nature, and Hebrews 13 verse 8 reminds us that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Divine love carries that same consistency, that same reliability, that same unwavering presence. My beloved soul, you were not chosen by accident, you were aligned by purpose. Heaven is watching how you steward this connection, not with fear of losing it, but with gratitude for receiving it. You once feared that love would require you to shrink, to silence your dreams, to compromise your calling, but the one God sends celebrates your growth, protects your peace, and prays over your purpose. That is how you know it is different. If you remain attentive to this word, clarity will settle in your heart like gentle rain on dry ground. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you during a season when I had learned that love is not about possession, but partnership. It is not about filling emptiness, but expanding wholeness. You were whole before this love arrived, and that is why it could flourish without dependency. Two healed souls walking together create harmony, not chaos. Amos asked how two can walk together unless they agree, and agreement in divine love is not forced, it flows naturally from shared faith, shared vision, shared surrender. My beloved soul, do not allow the shadows of your past to whisper lies into your present blessing. The enemy always tries to replay old pain when new promise appears, but Isaiah 43 verse 19 declares that God is doing a new thing, and you must not cling to former things when heaven is unfolding something fresh. This love is not a repetition of your history, it is a fulfillment of prophecy. Stay with me, precious one, because the Spirit is building toward something powerful. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as confirmation that I was not foolish for believing, not naive for hoping, not weak for longing. Your prayers were not ignored, your faith was not wasted, your tears were not unseen. Psalm 56 verse 8 says that God collects every tear in his bottle, and if he collects your tears, he certainly honors your prayers. The love he sends is often the answer that makes sense of every previous disappointment. My beloved soul, this is not mere romance, this is restoration. It is God restoring your belief that love can be gentle, love can be safe, love can be enduring. There were times you questioned whether you would ever feel secure in someone's presence, whether you would ever rest without fear of abandonment, but when divine love arrives, it feels like coming home. It feels like recognition. It feels like peace. Do not skip this sacred understanding, because it holds your freedom. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you to reflect his own heart toward me. Ephesians 3 verse 20 declares that he is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we ask or think, and perhaps you prayed for love, but you did not expect it to look like this, to feel this aligned, to carry this depth. Heaven often exceeds expectation when the season of preparation is complete. My beloved soul, what you are experiencing is not luck, it is orchestration. God aligned paths, adjusted timing, closed doors, redirected steps, and preserved hearts so that this meeting could occur at the precise moment it was meant to. That is why it feels right. That is why it feels peaceful. That is why it feels confirmed in your spirit. Listen carefully, because this part is crucial. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you not to rescue me from loneliness, but to walk with me in destiny. Divine love multiplies impact. It strengthens purpose. It deepens faith. It does not distract you from God, it draws you closer to him. When two hearts honor the same Lord, their union becomes worship. Their love becomes testimony. Their story becomes evidence that heaven is still writing miracles. My beloved soul, if you have doubted whether this connection was truly from God, release that doubt now. Peace is your sign. Growth is your sign. Alignment is your sign. The absence of chaos is your sign. God has not forgotten you, and he does not tease his children with counterfeit promises. What he sends carries fruit, and Jesus said you will know them by their fruits. Look at the fruit in your life since this love entered it. Has your faith deepened? Has your hope strengthened? Has your joy returned? That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you to reveal that love is patient even when circumstances test it, that love is faithful even when distance challenges it, that love trusts even when clarity is still unfolding. Divine love does not panic at temporary uncertainty, because it is rooted in eternal assurance. My beloved soul, heaven is watching your courage to believe again. You risked your heart after it was bruised. You opened your spirit after it was disappointed. You trusted after you were unsure. That bravery did not go unnoticed in the courts of heaven. God honors faith, especially when it is exercised after pain. Stay anchored in this revelation, because the final surge of this message carries power. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as living proof that waiting was worth it. Every lonely night was building capacity. Every unanswered text in your past was clearing space. Every failed attempt was redirecting you. The love that remains is the love that was refined. James 1 verse 17 says that every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, and divine love is a good and perfect gift. It does not arrive to confuse you. It arrives to bless you. My beloved soul, I declare over you now that fear will not sabotage what God has established. Insecurity will not erode what heaven has confirmed. Doubt will not dismantle what faith has built. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not unworthy. If you know the real meaning of love, it is because God Himself has written your story with intention. And hear this final rising declaration: what God has joined in this season will not collapse under pressure, it will grow stronger through it. What you prayed for is stabilizing. What you asked for is maturing. What you believed for is manifesting. Walk in peace. Stand in gratitude. Love without fear. Because if I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you, and what God sends is protected, sustained, and destined to flourish under His sovereign hand. My beloved soul, as we come deeper into this sacred unfolding, let your heart be still and attentive, because what is being sealed now is not temporary emotion but eternal confirmation. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as the living evidence that He restores what seemed delayed and fulfills what seemed distant. This was never about chance meetings or random timing, this was about divine orchestration. Long before you recognized the shift in your life, heaven had already whispered your name into the future. God was aligning paths while you were sleeping, softening hearts while you were healing, preparing conversations while you were praying. This is not a coincidence. You were led here on purpose to understand that love sent by God does not arrive by accident, it arrives by assignment. Listen carefully, because this truth must anchor your spirit. The enemy tried to convince you that love would always cost you peace, that it would always demand more than it gives, that it would always leave you uncertain. But the love God sends does not steal your stability, it strengthens it. It does not confuse your direction, it clarifies it. It does not weaken your faith, it deepens it. My beloved soul, do not let fear speak louder than prophecy. Heaven is watching how you respond to this blessing, and your response must be trust. Trust that God knows what He is doing. Trust that the one who began a good work in you will complete it, as Philippians 1 verse 6 promises. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you during a season when I had finally surrendered control. I stopped trying to force outcomes. I stopped trying to predict timing. I stopped demanding signs. And in that surrender, God moved. That is how He works. He waits until your grip relaxes, until your heart opens without fear, until your faith becomes steady rather than frantic. Then He releases what was always meant for you. My beloved soul, remain with me in this final movement of revelation, because something sacred is being sealed over your life. The love God sends will not require you to betray your calling. It will not require you to abandon your standards. It will not require you to silence your convictions. Instead, it will honor your growth. It will protect your boundaries. It will walk beside you as you fulfill your assignment. This is covenant love. This is purposeful love. This is divine love. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you not only as affection, but as alignment. Not only as comfort, but as confirmation. Not only as companionship, but as covenant. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 9 declares that two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. Divine love multiplies strength. It increases resilience. It makes burdens lighter and victories sweeter. My beloved soul, hear this final reassurance clearly: God has not forgotten you. Every promise He whispered is still alive. Every prayer you cried is still echoing in heaven. Every hope you carried is still valid. What you are experiencing now is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of fulfillment. The waiting season shaped you. The silent season strengthened you. The lonely season purified your expectations. And now the revealing season is here. If I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you as the answer to a prayer I almost stopped praying. And that is why this love feels sacred. That is why it feels peaceful. That is why it feels covered. Heaven is watching, not with concern, but with approval. What He ordains, He sustains. What He establishes, He protects. What He aligns, He blesses. My beloved soul, as this message draws to its holy conclusion, let this declaration settle into your spirit like unshakable truth. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. The love that carries God's fingerprint will not pass you by. It will not dissolve without reason. It will not collapse under pressure. It will endure, because it was birthed in prayer and sustained by grace. Listen carefully to this final prophetic surge: what you prayed for is closer than you think. What you asked God for in tears is forming in reality. What you believed for in faith is stepping into manifestation. Do not sabotage it with doubt. Do not question what heaven has confirmed. Stand in peace. Stand in gratitude. Stand in quiet confidence. Because if I know the real meaning of love, it is because God sent you, and what God sends is not temporary. It is intentional. It is protected. It is destined. I declare over you now that your heart will rest without fear, that your spirit will walk without anxiety, that your love will grow without instability. The God who authored your story is faithful to complete it. The promise you carry is not fading, it is unfolding. And as you step forward from this moment, carry this certainty within you: divine love is not a myth, it is your testimony. If you know the real meaning of love, it is because God Himself has written it into your life. Walk in that truth. Rest in that assurance. Expect with faith. Because what God has begun, He will fulfill, and what He has sent into your life will flourish under His sovereign hand. Type Amen.